Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Three Principles Global Community webinar. The Three Principles Global Community, or 3PGC, is a nonprofit organization that's committed to bringing an understanding of the three principles as introduced by Sydney Banks to people throughout the world. Today, we have Amir Karkouti with us. And Amir is a transformative coach, owner of a San Diego-based chain of restaurants, author of numerous titles, including Do Nothing to Get Everything, Lessons from My Coach, Happiness Formula, and his latest book, What the Explicative, I'm not sure how you say your book title out loud, What the F Are the Three Principles. He has spent over 10 years as an advisor, mentor, and coach to Fortune 500 CEOs, military men and women, and people who want to get more out of themselves and their lives. From his personal and professional experiences working with a range of clients, he's discovered that we all have the capacity for innate well-being. Amir lives in Carlsbad, and he can be found spending time with his beautiful wife, French Bulldog, and the world's smallest and cutest coach, his daughter, Aria. And I will post Amir's website underneath the recording when we post it on YouTube, so you have a way of getting in touch with him. Amir, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to share today. We've only ever talked once on the phone before, and I did enjoy that conversation. So thank you for being with us, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Oh man, thank you for having me. And it's been quite a while. I just did the Recovery Center webinar. I was in a group and I only had several minutes, so it's going to be nice to have a little bit of more time with you guys. First of all, I want to thank the 3PGC for having me. Honestly, it's really awesome. You guys have been an incredible community and group, and you guys have done so much for this community. And this webinar is going to be a little bit different. I say that with all my webinars, but for many of you guys that are on here who spent time with me, you guys have noticed that I've kind of been off the radar. I've been out of social media. I've been not writing as much. I've not been responding as much. I'm good. Everything is good. Family life, work life, everything is good. It's actually been better than ever. And I'm going to explain a little bit about why I did that and what that has to do with my journey in the three principles, and also what I'm starting to see in our community that I think could shift to a better place. That we kind of need an awakening in our own community. That sometimes happens, right? When we're in a community and we get just used to just saying the typical things everyone says, and we just kind of forget the value and power of what the principles originally did for many of us. So, if I could bring that back, and I hate to say this, but make the principles great again. I would never thought I would use something like that. But if I could use it in that sense, and nothing to do with Trump, but I'm just saying in that respect, that's what I want to do. That's my goal in this next hour. And also, I would love feedback. I would love for you guys to tell me your thoughts, questions. If you want to pick a fight with me, this is your hour. This is what we're going to do. So that's what we're going to do. And before I start, I want to I want to set the scene. I want you guys to imagine that you are going to a cemetery. You're going to a cemetery and you see a gentleman, and he's looking down at a tombstone, and from afar, while he has flowers in his hand, and he puts his flowers down. Okay, now this is purely metaphorical, if you so to speak. This is not truth right now, but I want you guys just to keep this in mind, right? From a purely materialistic point of view, or a scientific or materialistic point of view, if you're looking back, we can have a discussion and say that gentleman is actually not talking to anybody. The person that's, in the cemetery, their body, based on science, they're dead. If their heart's no longer working and they're no longer conscious, the person that they're going to visit is no longer alive, right? From a purely materialistic or scientific level. And there's truth to that. From a psychological level, we could say that there's incredibly useful things of someone going and visiting someone that's passed, right? They can have incredible coping mechanisms. They can alleviate themselves from some of the things that maybe they didn't have closure with that person, and now they can have closure with the person. They might be going in there for emotional uh, reasons or psychological reasons. As far as the psychological way of looking at it, there's a lot of benefits to going to a cemetery, right? The third way that we can see this is that from a spiritual point of view. And if you're looking at that person looking down at maybe their wife, from a spiritual point of view, they're still alive. They're still alive. How do I know that? Because I've spoken to so many people that someone in their life has passed. And when, my wife's a interior designer, and you won't believe how many times, even though a significant other has passed, they say, well, Charles would still like that furniture on the left. Oh, you know what? Charles would love the color of the room to be this, as if they're still in the room. Now, I worked at a recovery center for 4.5 years. I'm not a scientist, so I didn't try to tell them how the science is of how taking heroin, what it does chemically in the brain. I didn't talk about that because I'm not a scientist. I'm not a psychologist, so I didn't talk about how coping mechanisms work and I can give you better coping mechanisms. I didn't do that. What I talked about was a spiritual aspect of us. Beyond the chemical parts, beyond the coping mechanisms, the person in front of me who believes they're psychologically dead is more alive than ever. They just didn't know that. The principles, what it did for me, okay, and I want to make this very clear because I'm not saying that the science aspect of it is not true, the psychological aspect is not true. What I'm just simply pointing to is the spiritual aspect of what I was sharing was the most incredibly useful thing that I could share with people, which is exactly what Sid saw for himself. And so why I want to talk about this and why I find this to be incredibly important is one of the aspects of our community that I'm seeing that it's kind of going astray is that we get this, we come alive in our community, right? We see something, we go, oh my God, this is how it works. And we feel it. There's a sense that we've connected to source. We've connected to our universal consciousness or universal mind, as Sid would say. And we feel most alive. And the very next thing that I see so many in our community do is they go back to the psychology, which is what? Uh-oh, I'm going back down to a lower state of mind. What books do I need to read about the three principles? Oh, I'm back up to a higher state of mind. Okay, now I'm going to share my insights in that space. Oh no, I'm going back to this place now. Which webinar should I read? And all of a sudden, our states of mind tend to matter, right? The point of the principles, in my opinion, what I've seen, is that all the states of mind that we're going through is part of this creation, right? And so why I haven't been so involved is because I was thoroughly addicted to my states of mind, as many are. I found out I had an actual addiction. Like the minute I would look around the world, I would look for metaphors. I would look for every single bit of wisdom chasing or insight chasing. And I realized something. I wasn't living anymore. I was literally going around the world, like looking at the next thing I could find to write about so I can tell people, oh, look, I get the principles even on a deeper level, right? I would literally, and excuse me, I won't use the language I was going to use. I would literally go wake up in the morning and poop and somehow come up with a metaphor on pooping so I could write it to my Facebook group and somehow correlate that to the principles. And one day I went, wait a minute, I'm not living. I'm going to the cemetery, looking down and trying to find coping mechanisms as to why and why not the three principles are working or not. And guess what? I got a deeper understanding from that. And when Bonnie just asked me recently, she said, well, do you teach your 4-year-old about the principles, right? How are you going to teach her? And my response to that wasn't, well, this is what I do. My response to her was, she's been teaching me. She doesn't use metaphors. She doesn't sit there and ask me, Dad, I'm in a bad mood. Which Sid book should I read today? She doesn't ask me which webinars she needs to watch because she's in a lower state of mind. She knows that she has something within her, and even if she doesn't know it, it still works for her. In spite of the fact whether she knows it or not, she knows or she doesn't know, there is something within her that gives her life moment to moment. It just does. She was equipped with it. She's 4 years old. She had it when she was 2. She had it when she was 1. She had it when she was inside my wife's belly. It's just what we're equipped with. And so, that's my where I'm at now. And this is something that I don't even know if it's useful for many of you guys. I'm not sure if this is, I kind of went a different route and went to I don't know if this would be called a bomb, but when I worked at a recovery center for 4.5 years, my first year I spent, a lot of my time going, how can I share the principles, right? Oh, someone has a heroin addiction. How can I share it for someone who has a heroin addiction? Oh, this one has a cocaine addiction. How can I share the principles? And one day I woke up and I said, the principles doesn't care about that. See, that was my mistake. I brought in something called, how can I bring in an idea I've made up so I can help fix their idea they've made up? Well, my idea of what the principles are or aren't is not anymore any better than what their idea of themselves are, whether they're a no good father or a deadbeat dad or a family member that doesn't deserve to live or whatever it is. I've realized something, that the best way that I could share the principles is to forget about it for a minute and be the most alive I could be in this moment with them, so they can be just as alive with me. When there's two amazing alive people in this world concocting life every single second, magic happens. Magic happens in a way that you won't believe. So what does that mean? Okay, I see this all the time in my group. I see, oh, I have someone that has this going on. Which books do you recommend? I have someone that's going through that. What do you recommend with the principles? And what I've realized is, when you drop all of that, and even if you show up in that person's life and I don't know how to help you in this moment, I don't know how to fix this for you in this moment, is the most alive thing you can say. That's the best thing you could give them in that moment. Well, Amir, what about if you're anxious? Like I'm kind of anxious on this call, but it's the most alive anxiousness I've ever felt. I love this, right? Well, what about when you're in a fight with your wife and you're angry? I get the most angry aliveness experience I ever have with my wife, and we love it. And we immerse ourselves in it until a new experience comes, and I'm the most alive in that experience. In other words, I don't chase my state of mind anymore. I'm in that state of mind and the most alive I've ever been. And that's what's been the most gratifying for me. So I guess in a sense, the principles I thought I knew weren't the principles at all. And when I thought that, when Sid said, really go live your life, I thought that was a cool thing to say. Like, oh, everyone, it turned into almost a meme. Like, oh, go live your life. I see what he means. But let's go back and listen to 10 more things of his. Oh, go live your life. But that means I'm going to secretly, see if I can find an insight through this or anything. You're equipped to have insights. You don't have to do anything about it. You're equipped to have states of mind. You're not supposed to do anything with it. You're equipped to be alive. And just like an addict and just like anyone else, we dwindle ourselves down and think that the best way to maneuver through life is to figure it out from a alcoholic's point of view, an addictive point of view, or a three principles point of view. Folks, there is no such thing as a three principles point of view. The three principles point of view is living life. That's the three principles. Anything outside of that is a cool conversation of what we think they are. And so I'll never forget when someone said to me in my group, they said, so you're telling me that when I have anxiety, I'm just supposed to have anxiety? And I said, sure. Like, well, what about when I'm angry? I said, well, then be angry. What about when I'm upset? Well, then be upset. See, the problem wasn't the actual state of mind. They were afraid that if they had that in them, what they will do with it, because when someone is angry, they can do certain bad things. But when you're actually really alive in that experience, it's a different feeling than when you say, I'm angry and I'm a bad person, and angry people that are bad people will do bad things. That may be true because now we've added something to that experience. But the truth of the matter is, for the most part, when we can dive into our experience, right? If I live in San Diego, I'm 1 hour away in Palm Springs, and I'm also an hour away from the snow. Like, my body knows how to adjust in the heat, and my body knows how to adjust in the cold. It just knows. It just knows how to adjust. And once I know that my body is designed to self-regulate, I've realized I can adjust in that anger. I can be angry and be okay, fundamentally okay in that anger. I can be okay in any state of mind now. Right? That's the gift that I've kind of seen now. And why does this matter? And I know this is a very odd thing to say from a 3PGC point of view, because that's what this is all about, is the three principles, is that I've now had a significant amount of more time to be in life. So what do I do on a day-to-day basis? I wake up, I kiss my daughter and my wife, not exactly in those orders, sometimes it changes. I have my breakfast, I go work out, I go to my work, and I go about my day. And if you ask me at that point, at what point do you think about the principles? Are you guys ready for it? Most of the time, zero now. Zero. But what about when you have clients? Are you guys ready for this? I think about it zero. I just am with them. The principles work behind the scenes. I don't need to go in and say, all right, I'm having a principles coaching conversation. Now let's see how this goes. Because that doesn't make sense. Any more than I would say, okay, heart, you got to keep beating because I'm about to have a coaching conversation. I need you to work. And blood, you need to circulate. And throat, you need to salivate. And eyes, you need to blink so I don't do any of that. So why possibly do I have to try to get myself geared up to have a principles conversation? That makes absolutely no sense. You're in the principles. The principles are working simultaneously with life. It is life. You don't have to show up in any way. That's why I find it kind of comical that now people are giving principal certifications. I don't understand what that means. It's kind of like, I guess, getting a certification for living. Maybe there's way, maybe I don't know much about that, but you know, it almost for me misses the mark, because I love talking about the principles. It's almost like, like I can talk about what love is to me, and I can talk about the feelings and all that stuff. But the minute I'm in love, here's a really good example. Is I've read all this stuff about what it means to have a child and the struggles and things like that. But the minute you have a child, even though I've read it and I understood it from a practical and also philosophical point of view from what I've read, the translation is never exactly the way it is when you actually have a child. The frustration you feel when you have a child is much different than what you read. The love that you have for a child, you can't write enough about it. There's not enough words in the English dictionary to write about this deep love that you have for a child, right? And ironically, I never wake up and say today I'm going to be a daddy and I'm going to have a daughter time. It just shows up, because the minute you have a child, it's ingrained to simply just be with them and love them, right? And so for those that are here on this call that want to become better practitioners, that want to share the principles, that want to get a deeper understanding, folks, you're already in it. And the answer that shows up for you in this moment when you're having a dialogue with another person, you're already equipped with it. So if the answer shows up as I don't know, that's the principles. If your answer comes to yeah, and I love what Don said, and I want to get back to that. Let me see. Can we get? I don't know how to. Will you read what Don just wrote? I just saw it for a minute, but it disappeared.
You want me to read it right now?
Yeah, I can't see it anymore.
Sure. It's absolutely. My doula said, throw away all the books and listen to your baby. Didn't Sid say, throw away the tape? Whoops, just jumped. Throw away the tape and live from there?
Yes, you hit it on the nail. That's exactly right. And I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it in our community where people are literally distressed because they don't get it anymore. Or, hey, I felt good for a little bit, but now I'm now down in the dumps. And I want to tell people, what a way to feel life down in the dumps. Like that's what we're missing, because we're thinking that the only way to experience the principles is in some different state of mind. That's not what the principles are pointing to. The principles are pointing to that you are designed to have an infinite amount of state of minds, right? And when you see it from a deeper level, right? When you see it from a deeper level that you're fundamentally okay, you're naturally going to feel, I don't want to say better, you're going to feel okay with whatever state of mind you're in. Okay, you're going to be, when you know you're fundamentally okay in any state of mind, there's no rush to get to the next one, right? And so, like that makes sense then, right? When I don't feel like working out, can I still work out? Absolutely, right? I can still work out in a bad state of mind. If I don't feel love with my wife, can I still kiss her? Absolutely, right? Like, it doesn't stop us from doing anything in life. It just means that in that particular moment, that state of mind looks a little bit off, or a little bit different, or a little bit whatever. Now I'm verbalizing something that I'm getting too deep into the verbalization of it. But the bottom line, and I will say, this has been, I don't know if you guys can see this. I'm going to read something that Voltaire wrote. He wrote, "The art of medicine consists in amusing the patient while nature cures the disease." Right? Like, that's what I did at the recovery center. We laughed, we cried, we talked about stuff, and their state of mind changed within that hour. They already knew. Now I could say I did it. I could say that I talked about the principles, or I, did some magic, but states of mind change. I didn't have to do anything. Like, I could do my recovery center at a coffee shop and never talk about the principles, and as long as they know that states of mind change, their world will change. Like, if that's all they got out of this, is states of mind change. You have something, like the way I look at it is, it's like a pencil. This is a pen. I don't have a pencil on me, but a pencil was beautifully designed. Whoever designed a pencil, what's at the top of the pencil? An eraser. They knew we're going to mess up. Like, the person that designed a pencil knew that if you scribble and you mess up, you just have to turn it around and you can just erase it again and start over again. Like, that's brilliant. But they copied that off of mind, because we mess up all the time, but it doesn't do anything, because we have a fresh new capacity to think again, to have a thought again. We have a fresh new capacity. We have a built-in eraser. We have a built-in source that never runs out of ink, never runs out of an eraser, never runs out, which means you can create and go, oh man, why did I say that? I'm the worst dad. Boom. You get a new sense of self and a new sense of life, and you can go back and do it again, and mess up and do it again, mess up and do it again. I wonder if that has any implications for people that think that once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic, that they don't realize that they have a built-in eraser. I wonder if they realize that they're not fundamentally broken 100%, 90%, 50%, that they're 100% whole, that they forgot to just use the other end of this to do this and go, oh, actually, they don't even have to do that. That's the whole point. I wonder if that has implications. It does. It does, and it did while I was at a recovery center. Because most of the time, I remember, I'll never forget, after one of my groups, one of the therapists came and said, "Are you even teaching in there? All they're doing is laughing and having a great time in there. What's going on in there?" Because they thought by teaching people change. But if someone's happy and they're in a good mood, do you think they're going to see a different life? Right? I remember, I'll never forget, one of the people that after a good time, after we had a good time in our 2-hour groups, they said, "You know what the biggest change for me was? This is the only time that I can forget that I'm an alcoholic, that I'm a bad mother. This is the only time that I can be me and no one judges me for being me. And I could be the silly self. I could mess up. I could say something and, you know, and laugh at myself." And he says, "You know what? That's freedom. Freedom I never thought was possible, because I thought I had to act a certain way, be a certain way, show up a certain way. That if I said the wrong thing, that people are going to say that's who Julie is or that's who Donna is, you know." And she said, once you have that freedom and you get a taste of that, your life, this life shows up differently. You, the world is your oyster. And she just had this like this energy about her. And not once did she mention because of mind consciousness and thought. No, she got to experience mind consciousness and thought. As practitioners, we're not supposed to simply share what mind consciousness and thought is. We want to get them in the water. We're not trying to teach them how to do the backstroke on land. We get to immerse them in consciousness. We let them swim in this universal energy, which they're already doing. And once they feel the water, once they taste it, there's no going back. And that's the energy I want everyone in this, everyone that's on this call, to get back to. You know, whenever, especially right now with what's going on in our world, we need less people sharing the principles. We need more people enriching other people. Pick up the phone and call. How are you? What's going on? Get connected with people. We are so disconnected because we're doing everything online now, right? And we think that, you know, by throwing out a meme and saying something deep, you know, by that time I'm already scrolling 10 scrolls down. Like, we need enrichment. We need to spend time. When Sid, I'll never forget, David, Sid's son, I said, what made it different? What was so unique when you would see your father teach? He goes, it wasn't only about the teaching. Did you know that whenever he started his events, and this was, you know, he loved small events, we would break bread. Everyone would sit down and eat. We would have music playing. He said it was joyous before it began, because my dad knew how to live. And then the teachings came, and it really stuck to me, because there's so many in our community that are like, all right, it's time to do the principles, but where's the singing? Where's the dancing? Where's the joy? Right? I remember one of the higher ups told me, you know, you need to take this more seriously. You're kind of making this into a joke. And I went, oh boy, you know, I kind of got my head around that. But I said, I'd rather have someone leave with this spontaneous laughter than someone leave that can describe the principles better. If they leave with more spontaneous laughter, then I've done my job. Then I can say I did my thing for the day, and I could leave. Because once they see the spontaneity, that's why we love laughing, because you can't teach it. It just happens, right? Joy is spontaneous. Think about the things that we love. they're all spontaneous. They're all what shows up to us before we can think about it. Joy, laughter, even distress is spontaneous. That's why it takes us in so much, because it's spontaneous, because it's life. And if we can get accustomed to that spontaneity, whatever it looks like, boy, are we in life. Boy, do we get to taste it on a deeper level. And so I've stepped back from sharing the principles like most people do. The principles are a part of who I am, right? The principles are always going to be what Sid's work is paramount to who I am today and what I've discovered. Don't get me wrong. But once you've seen it, it's there for you. It's there for you for the taking. It doesn't have to be discussed on a daily basis, on a regular basis. And of course, if you want to, by all means, do it. But what if there's more to it than that? What if your very existence and your very connection to another person is now the missing link because people have been so bogged down by teaching the principles? And I want you guys to take that into consideration. And I did a lot of talking. I don't know if any of this made sense, and I'd love to hear people's questions or insights or uh, I'm not getting on stage with either of those guys. Are you kidding me? But yeah, I'd love to hear where you guys are at, and anything that's and I know this is a little bit different, and I hope by all means this was something that, even if you got a little bit out of it, I'd be very joyous of it. So
May I?
yes.
Well, I haven't been to very many three principles anythings lately. I haven't been to your group or anything, but I saw your the post for this and how you haven't been doing much online. I thought, well, that sounds awfully familiar. That's very much how I've been, and I really like it. And I was thinking, the first thing I was thinking at the beginning of this too was, yeah, throw the tape out the window, like Sydney Banks says. Um, and I think when people, maybe perhaps like you, or when people like Michael Neal or Jamie Smart run into the three principles, that's what happens when somebody who writes books and gives lectures and is already a professional coach. That is their life maybe. And when a carpenter or a mechanic learns the three principles, they may just be sort of like me. I'm a graphic designer, and it helps me working with people. It helps me with my family and my life. But there was a point in time where I just thought, how do I become a practitioner? How do I become a coach? And my only answer is I kind of am in my day-to-day life. I don't think I'm a coach, but I use it in all my interactions. Or I'm using the wrong words, but it's been woven into my being, or it's changed. It helped me get grounded, and for me, getting grounded is being authentic. And often I do speak in 12-step meetings, and when I get in front of a big group of people, I talk to myself and go, try not to impress anybody, try to be yourself as much as you can, and just tell it like it is. And that's where I've gotten to be with this, is just to be really comfortable with where I am and who I am. And no books coming out, no big lectures. I'm not a coach, but I feel I do like participating, and like this meeting here today is really, really nice. But I've kind of just taken it, thrown the tape out the window, and gone back to my life and with just a different perspective on things, and life just seems better and easier.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Chris. And for those that are listening and you're a coach, by all means, I'm not saying stop writing books or don't coach a certain way. This is my journey, and I want to make that very clear. This is where I'm at, right? And this is strictly my point of view, not anything else. But I have seen a common theme with so many people that are kind of like, what do I do with this? Where do I go with this? How do I translate this teachings to other people? And and as Chris pointed out, my only thing that I could say is, I wish I could just tell everybody it's so much easier than we make it. That's the biggest thing, right? Like, you cannot supplement connection and love for an ideology. You can't. The principles were never supposed to be an ideology, and it has become one. Okay? And why Sid, when you speak to him, is you know, when he says forget about the words, he's saying forget about that, because I'm trying to connect with something that you already have or connected to. Right? All the people that the deep thinkers and the people from the past that were incredibly wisdom filled, their words start to all sound the same, and poof, you get connected to the source. And if you go back and say, what did that person say exactly? You say, I have no freaking idea, but boy, do I see something deeper. That's when you know that something has fundamentally shifted, right? And for those that are coaches here, connection will always trump an ideology. The love that you have for a fellow human being, that is so needed in this time right now, right? Is never gonna connection will always supersede anything we think of an idea, whether it's the principles, whether it's not the principles. Because the minute you say, how do I share the principles, you're saying, how do I share something that I've made into form, right? But what Sid was pointing to is forget about the form. It's this formless energy. Love is a formless energy. Connection is a formless energy. With my daughter, I do not talk about connection with her. I never have. I never say, honey, come over here and connect with me. I don't. Honey, come here and you have to love me. She would look at me like, Dad, you're out of your mind. And she's 4.5, right? Here's what it looks like for her. I'll never forget. I'm walking her across the street, and she took my one finger when she crossed the street and squeezes it. I said, well, why do you just hold my one finger? She said, because when I squeeze you, Daddy, I know that I'm right with you, right next to you. And that's how I know you're right next to me. Like, that to me is like, now, how can I explain that to someone? That means maybe nothing to you, but that meant the world to me. I know what she means. She's saying, I'm connected to you, Dad. And she's talking about a finger. She's not talking about a finger. She's talking about that connection, right? In other words, she cares less about the wording. She doesn't know, because with her 4.5-year-old mind, she can't express herself like someone else. And that's good news for her. You know why? Because I don't spend time with her words. I spend time with what she's expressing. Because life is an expression. It's an expression. And we dwindle our expression to simply words, right? We were taught words, but expressing love, that was equipped with us, right? That's a higher level of communication. But we go down a couple notches and express via words. Social media doesn't help that much, because we are now, we get excited. We have words to express, and we type it real quick, and we get the likes and we get the comments. So we think, boy, see, I expressed myself wonderfully. I had 13 likes today. I was a master at that. I have a group of 2,500 people in my community, in my what the F are the principals community, and I wrote nonstop. Now, were there some stuff that were extremely useful for people? Absolutely. But the most useful thing was, and people here will tell you, I would get on the phone with them, and we'd talk, and we'd laugh, and we'd hang up the phone, and we would just have this energy that no amount of writing on my social media wall ever did for me. Again, I'm not saying you shouldn't write. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying let's not forget what actually connects us, which is connecting. It's extremely important in this day and age. I want all of us to do that when we get off this call. Pick up the phone and speak to people, connect with people, love on people. Questions, comments?
William?
I just want to say, the way I feel when I listen to you, I have a good feeling. And what I really like is that I don't have to know anything to come and talk with you. And it's just like, all I need to do is have fun and show up. And I think that's what I got from you the very first time I ever heard you. It's like, there's nothing to do. Let's just show up and let's have fun. And
Yes.
you just exude that. And so I love joining you in your fun. So that's about all what I want to say. Thank you.
I love that. I love that. That you hit it on the nail. Like, we can hang up the call now on this point, at this point. I mean, that's literally what it is, my man. It's what it is. And we make it so difficult. We say, how do I have fun from a three principles perspective? What the hell does that even mean? Like, how to have joy from how to have joy from, no, it stops at joy. It stops at fun, not with a, and then something we create and form. Joy in of itself, all that stuff is spontaneous.
And I love the way that you come across, like you don't know anything and yet you know so much.
Oh, my wife would say otherwise. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, my man.
Penny?
Hey, Amir, I wanted to just jump in and can you hear me?
Yes.
It's Philip here.
Bedroom Talks by Philip. Go ahead.
Yeah, here we are. I'm just I wanted to say I've been fighting not to leave this call because from the moment you said just love harder or something like that, all I wanted to do was just get off this call and call a friend and just tell him I love him. Yeah. Because it's been, well, it's like I have this friend, his wife just has been diagnosed with breast cancer, and man, it's been really, really tough for him. And every time I get on the phone, it's it's been actually really hard for me to find a way to talk to him. And you know, I feel like I needed to hear that from you today, because I don't need to find a way to talk to him. Yeah. I can just get on the phone with him and just be with him and just without the need to, oh, if only he understood the principles, then it would be so much easier with his wife. Like all that, I can just drop all of that and just say, you know, I love you and I care for you and I just want the best for you. And I made that more complicated. So I just want to say thank you for expressing that, especially with people that we love so dearly, people we're so close to. Somehow it seems that I forget how simple that is. So thanks for the reminder. Just really appreciate that.
Yeah. And do you notice, even with you speaking, it works both ways, because you speaking and saying what you just did, what you just said, like it resets me too. Like this simple dialogue. And for those that are on this call, did you feel that too? Like we're saying the same thing in different ways, and it just has there's this energy behind it. And you know what you just expressed, like it just reignited me. Because I'll give you guys a secret, and I didn't think I would say this, but this call was selfish. This call was for me. Like this was my reminder of where I've been and where my journey's been and how much I've missed in life because I thought it needed to look a certain way. I thought every part of my life had to have the principles in it. I thought every part of it had to be solved by wisdom chasing, insight chasing, this chasing. And Philip just goes, I'm about to get off the phone and call a guy and say I love him. And God, I wish I did that in the last few years. Right? I wish I did that. I mean, the good news is I can start now. That's what's cool. It's not like I'm going to beat myself up for it. But this is the reset, folks, that I'm talking about, that we all could kind of be reminded of. Right? Yes. Anyone else? Miss Charlie.
No, you've got Penny.
Oh, Penny.
Hi, Amir. I just wanted to pop on and say that everything you've said tonight, you know, we've had many conversations and you have always reset me. What you're saying now, I've always seen that in you. and you're the guy that taught me that actually that feeling I felt didn't need explaining, that I could just go with it and I could just run with it. And I just want to thank you for that. I love you, man.
Oh, thank you. Love you too.
Oh, that's all.
You're one of my favorites. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bob? Bob, I'm trying to unmute you, but I can't do it. Maybe you can unmute yourself?
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to say that, boy, what really hit me is when you said that connection is more important than ideology. Look at where we are in this country today and in the world today. So many friendships that were there previously have been destroyed because two people had a different ideology. I had a friend that I was really close to, and he is on the other side of the political spectrum than I am. And it got to the point where he wouldn't even talk to me anymore. And we were really close. It was just amazing. But boy, if people just realized that the connection was more important than the ideology, think of how this country and the world would change. So thank you very much for what you're doing, Amir. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. That means a lot. And you hit it on the nail too. That's exactly what I'm saying. And, you know, social media doesn't really help because we don't get to do what we just did. I'm looking at you in the eye, you know, to the best of our ability because, you know, we're still on Zoom. I wouldn't say half the stuff I would say if the person that I held dearly was in front of me that I can say over social media, right? And that's something that I got to see too is, you know, for the most part, I wrote a lot of articles. I did a lot of stuff online. Here's something really funny. I'll leave it with this for a couple minutes. I had somebody call me and they wanted me, I own restaurants in San Diego. And you'll find this kind of funny. Everybody that wants to sell me something calls me. Now they want me to be in their magazine and do coupons, but they don't actually, I don't find them from the coupon book. They call me. There's someone that said, hey, I do text message marketing. And they said, would you like to you know, do text message marketing for your restaurants? And I said, can I ask you a question, ma'am? Why didn't you text message me for me to connect with you? Why'd you call me? And she didn't realize it, but she said, well, because calling you is more intimate. And she just missed the whole point. She's trying to teach me, she's trying to sell me text messaging marketing, yet she's trying to connect with me because we all know to get someone on the phone, to actually speak to someone has way more value than a coupon book or text messaging marketing and all this stuff. All the people that try to sell me marketing don't actually use the thing that they're selling. They want to connect with me because they know that's what will make the sale. In the same respect, folks, right? No amount of, you know, for me, I've realized the posts and all the stuff that I did, they were incredibly valuable, I'm sure. But no amount of that will supersede me picking up the phone and saying, hey, what's going on? Tell me what's going on in your world. It sounds like you're frustrated, right? Hey, I see that you have a different point of view politically. Tell me your thoughts about that. You know, may agree or we may disagree, but let's have a discussion because I love you and you're my friend and you're valued. And at the end of the day, we'll go grab a coffee, even if we disagree, because this life is way too short. It's way too short for our ideologies. It's way too short, and I'm seeing it. Like you said, I'm losing friends over ideologies, and to the point where I'm not even discussing them. And they're still somehow, because if I keep silent, then surely that means I'm for the opposing view. And I'm going, what is happening with us? And one of the reasons, the principles, folks, the people that are on this call, this is one of our biggest hopes, because the principles point to that it goes beyond ideology. We got to be careful, because if we might get suckered into our own ideology. We can't tell people ideology is wrong and then tell them the principles are the only way to see life, because then all we're saying is replace your ideology. That's not the way to do it either. If you want to show them ideology is not the way to go, bring them in life with you again. Let them live in this space with you again. Let them connect, let them love, let them see joy. In that space, you can discuss ideology, you can discuss an infinite amount of things, but you're blanketed with love, so you're going to be okay. See, what we're doing is we're trying to connect each other with ideology. We're trying to tell people that this is how love works, this is how love looks, this is how wisdom works. But there is no blanket of love connected to it. There's no blanket of connection, so it falls on deaf ears. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't share the principles, but don't replace the principles. Don't replace them for love and connection and humanness and humanity. We cannot replace that, and we got to always remember that. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Iona? Iona, can you speak up a little, maybe right into the microphone? It's hard to hear you. Can you hear what Iona's saying, Amir? I'm hearing her
Yeah.
here.
Hi,
There we
sorry,
go.
I was connected to my speaker.
Hi, how are you?
Whoopsies. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for being on here.
Yeah, thanks. Awesome. I just wanted to say I'm really enjoying what you're saying, and I can totally relate. Like, I joined the three principles, well, I learned the three principles about 5 years ago, and I really, really got a lot from it. But I feel like it was just a step ladder to a higher level of consciousness. And because there's infinite levels of consciousness and there's infinite step ladders, so that might have been my step ladder, but someone else's step ladder could look totally different. But at the time, I genuinely thought like everyone needed to go up this same step ladder, you know, for a little bit. And the way I would speak to people, like, I wasn't that ignorant, but I think I probably was a little bit ignorant. And now I just feel like life is just such an amazing journey. So I ended up just leaving the principals community for a little while and just doing my own thing, because I just feel like it's so vast. Like, this journey and wisdom is so vast, and to box it into something so small would be an injustice to all of us. And now I'm just so happy that, like, I get to listen to people without thinking, oh, that's just this and that's just that, and if only they knew, you know. I just get to listen to people, whatever level they're at, like accepting, oh, that's the world as they see it, that's their sacred point of view, and knowing that my sacred point of view is going to unfold and continue to unfold throughout my lifetime, and possibly in the next lifetimes as well. So I just feel like this journey's just been so humbling, and it's just been so interesting, because at the start I was like, yeah, I know it all and all that, and then some things went down in my life and I started to say, oh, maybe that's not quite the way it is. And even certain kind of ideologies within the principles were actually not serving me, they were actually holding me back, and I had to really look at myself, and it's been very, very interesting. I still kind of dabble now and then, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It totally freed me at one point in my life, but I just feel like I don't want to limit myself anymore. But yeah, that's my little contribution. I hope that made sense.
I 100% made sense. I was just nodding my head because that's exactly how I see it. I mean, you literally explained to me where, in a way, I kept saying, "Oh, cool, we're in the same club. Like, join the club." Like, that's what I did, and that's what I still do it. And this is not a. This is one of my favorite communities. I mean, I could literally pick up the phone and call Penny I know at any time, or anyone in this community, and they are some of the most expressive and open people. This is just a call for us as a reminder. This is just a reminding of beyond ideology, what is left with us, you know, especially for, I mean, you know, could I have the same conversation for people that maybe didn't see the world with the principles? I don't know, but people in our community are much apt and much more open to hearing what I'm saying, as you saw for yourself. And so this is not a bash on the community or the principles or anything. This is a call to folks. This is our opportunity to connect more, to love more. This is our time. Like this is our moment, you know, with what we know and beyond. With what we know and beyond.
Exactly, yeah. And each person is totally unique, and that's our beauty. Everyone's expression is unique. Everyone's wisdom is unique. Everyone's key is unique. Everyone's door, everyone's lock is unique. So what works for one person might not work for another.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's so
Thank
beautiful
you so
and
much.
vast, this universe. Woohoo!
Yes, we did it. We're all in it. Exactly.
Yay!
I love it. Thank you so much.
Yay. Unlimited. Right. Thank you, Amir.
Unlimited.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. What wonderful shares. This is why I love, you know, like the same thing with my recovery center. It's not me babbling that I love. It's listening to other people, like the people that just spoke, like the stuff that comes out of everyone else's mind. Like you said, we're all in a different stage, and we're all using the same energy, but the creative source that comes out of your mouth and Bob's mouth and Philip's mouth, it's just incredible. And that's you know, when we did this in our recovery center, we just went around and we just discussed like our aliveness. Boy, did that change the room. That changed the room. So thank you. And we're down to the hour. I'm down to take a question or any one last comment. If not, you know, I just want to I'm glad I did this. And again, you know, this was something that probably I needed to do for myself. This was my own diary, my own journal, I guess, my live journal, to express my love for everybody in this room, to express, you know, for so many guys that were part of my journey and still are. And, you know, I'm around. I don't want you guys to think that I'm off social media. If anything, I'd rather get on a call with you guys, right? I'd rather say what's going on, if possible. You know, next time, you know, when all this kind of mellows out, I'd love to see you guys in person. You know, I'd love to give you guys hugs, because a hug has 1,000 words that I can't express, you know, verbally. And that's where we need to get to. And that's where I've kind of seeing myself at. And I hope my little glimpse of where I'm at, my world, and what I've seen sparked something for some of you guys. Right? You don't necessarily have to agree with me. This is my journey. I don't want you to say, well, I like doing this. And if you like doing what you're doing, by all means do it. This was just a simple reflection. You know, when people say, you know, meet them where they're at, I always say, no, I look at it a little bit differently. My job, not my job, but my goal is to have people meet themselves where they're at. Not my job to meet you where you're at. Is when I tell you where I'm at and that I'm fundamentally okay with my journey where I'm at, that you see something for yourself to say, well, you know what, this is where I'm at in my journey. And if you want to shift, you can shift. You want to stay, you can stay. If you want to drift, you can drift. And that's all I can offer you, because the world can change in any moment, and you're part of that change. You're part of that movement. You're part of that aliveness. And on that note, folks, really thank you so much for having me. And I hope this was somewhat useful.
Thank you so much, Amir. I truly enjoyed this last hour. Really appreciate your coming on. Yeah, and I just want to let everybody know the next webinar is on Tuesday, October 13th with Leela Turner. So I guess if you're done, then I'll just continue on and say, go live your life.
I love it. Folks, love you guys all. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you again for everything you guys have done.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Adios.